Okay, so this is something that I wanted to talk about because um, it's been coming up a lot lately. Like, are you supposed to vote for Kamala Harris if you oppose the genocide in Gaza? And a lot of people are saying, no, no, you shouldn't support her. Um, but let's just kind of like go over some of the arguments. So this is Hassan, and he's talking about Chapel Rowan because apparently she's like not really supporting Kamala Harris. So let's kind of go over the arguments here.
That yeah, everybody is yelling at Chapel Roan. And I think the reason why they're yelling at Chapel Roan is because she was like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to vote for Kamala Harris or endorse her, honestly. There's a lot of problems on either side. And people immediately took that to be like, oh, she must mean she really likes Donald Trump. Or how dare you say that there's a lot of problems on both sides of the fucking equation, of the political equation, you piece of shit. You must clearly be trying to farm like a Michael Jordan style, in a Michael Jordan style way. You must clearly be trying to farm like the conservative voters to like buy your product. It's like, no, I think it's probably because of what she said time and time again about American imperialism, specifically Palestine. But I don't know. I just genuinely don't know. But I'm pretty sure that's why she's saying that. The issue for me, at least, is like, I don't know why she just doesn't openly state it and be like, listen, I think that if the Democratic Party wants my vote, they should seek out my vote, right? And some of the things that I care about include not murdering babies in Gaza, and I think that that is probably a good thing to stop.
So in this, I agree with Hassan here. Like, the whole point of a democracy is to try to get the politicians to enact the policies that you want them to enact. And one of the ways to do that is to threaten to withhold your vote, or if you're someone with a lot of influence, threaten to withhold a lot of votes if you believe that you can get those people to vote the way that you want them to. Let's just continue.
Even if you don't care about the election. She should say why for sure. She's getting flat from both sides because of it. It
Care
don't
about
matter.
the
Even if
election.
she said it's because of Palestine, people would be fucking hella mad at her anyway because people are annoying. She turned down the White House invite. She said she won't be a monkey for pride. The pop star tells Rolling Stone she considered going and reading poetry about Palestinian women in protest, but ultimately decided against it. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously like Palestine is a big issue for her. It's kind of funny to compare her to Taylor Swift and be like, yo, she did the right thing. Chapel Roan is not. She's fake. She's phony. It's like, it's okay for people to have their own personal opinions on stuff like this. You know, you can disagree with them if you want, but it.
So this is where I would disagree with Hassan. Like, it's okay to have your own personal opinion on that. That's fine. But when you're not when you're putting it from a personal opinion into a public opinion, posting it publicly, then that's when you are opening yourself up for criticism. And saying you're not going to vote for someone is not the same as saying that both sides are bad. You can say both sides are bad. You can push for change on both sides, but effectively at the end of the day, your vote is a tool that you should always be using to kind of get the lesser of two evils into power. Like, that is a very specific tool that you have. It's not a way of expressing yourself. It's not a way that you can punish people that you don't like. It is just a very simple, direct one-to-one tool. You either can put it to try to get someone elected or the other person elected. And if you don't vote for either, then maybe the worst of two evils could get into office, and you are to blame for that if you end up not voting. So, like, what Hazan is saying here, he kind of has this tendencies that he inherited from his uncle Jank, where he gets very like triggered by criticism, I would say, and he's hyper aware of any kind of criticism, and so he's kind of projecting himself onto Chapel Roan. I know Hassan has said that like he's not really gonna vote for the Democrat in this upcoming election. And he's in California, like that's a safe state, but still, like, that's not really the message that you should be sending. I agree wholeheartedly with Sam Cedar in this regard, where, protest the politicians, harass them as much as you want, but at the end of the day, your vote is a tool that you should use to try to, get the person who's least bad into office. Sam Cedar has used the example where if you are given the choice between 100% Hitler and 99% Hitler, you should still vote for the 99% Hitler, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. In terms of the Palestinian genocide, Trump has used Palestinian as a slur before. He has bragged about giving Israeli lobbyists anything that they could possibly ask of him. And he has straight up said that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden aren't going far enough in their kind of destruction of Palestine. So it's pretty clear to me that Trump is going to just be straight up worse on the issue of Palestine than Joe Biden, and especially Kamala Harris. And so I think that if you can even save, like, if Kamala Harris getting into office can even save one Palestinian person, then that is a vote worth spending on Harris. Let's just continue this video. I think Hassan gets a little bit off the rails here.
Is certainly okay. I find it really odd that people are just like, no, you don't understand. You will fucking vote for the Democratic Party and you will like it and you will be excited at the prospect. And fuck you, actually. And also,
so again, like, this is extremely, I won't even say hyperbolic, but it's just not a good description of reasonable positions that people have that they can criticize Chappell Rowan from. Saying that if you don't endorse either of the candidates, then, fuck you, you should be excited at the prospect of voting for Kamala Harris, is not really what people are saying when they're when they're like criticizing someone for saying that both sides are bad or equivocating Harris and Trump, because I really think there is no equivocation there. And again, you can say, oh yeah, fuck Kamala Harris, fuck Donald Trump, but I'm still going to vote for Harris because she is better than Trump. And that would be an extremely reasonable position to have. That's something that I think Chappell Rowan should have, especially if trans rights is a big issue for her. Like, the Republicans have been abysmal on trans rights. Republicans and Democrats have been abysmal on Palestinian rights too. But only one political party has used Palestine as a slur. Only one political party has a voter base whose biblical ideology relies on Palestinians to get completely wiped off the face of the earth so that the end times can come about. Only one party has their major politician bragging about getting hundreds of millions of dollars donated to his campaign, and in return he's just giving Israeli lobbyists everything they want. Donald Trump saying that he's gave Israel the Golan Heights just because a lobbyist came into his office and gave him a 5-minute history lesson on it. Donald Trump saying that he moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem to recognize that it was Israel's property. Donald Trump saying that, they're working on the Abraham Accords to normalize relations with other nations in the Middle East.
You're no longer actually queer. Genuinely asking, is Chappell Rowan actually queer, or is she just a culture vulture?
I mean, who gives a fuck if she's queer or not, right? Like, how does that matter?
She moves very fake. Yeah, no. They'll also, I don't know why they haven't hit the she's white. She's a white woman. That's why she's doing this line. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised that hasn't.
I mean, the fact that Hassan is watching this and can't come up with like a single legitimate reason to criticize Chappell Rowan for this, like, you're a huge public figure. A lot of trans people look up to her, I'm assuming. She kind of like plays into that queer space. And she's taking a stand on Palestinian rights, and the fact that Hassan's like ignoring the idea that you can actually save people's lives by voting for Harris in both Palestinian and trans like segments of the population is a little bit concerning. Like, I want a bit of a more informed and all-encompassing viewpoint from a major political commentator, especially around election times. Like, how many of Hassan's viewers in the chat and on YouTube videos and stuff are going to look at this and be like, yeah, you know what, Chapel Roan is right. The Democrats and the Republicans are the same, and I'm going to use my vote as a personal expression of my feelings towards these politicians to make myself feel good about this election and not feel like I'm voting for genocide by, voting for Kamala Harris. Like, of course there are problems with the Democrats. Of course there are problems with the Republicans. You're not voting for the problems. Like, I don't understand how people can come into this, come out of elections and be like, well, it's not my fault that Donald Trump got elected and abortion got overturned. I didn't vote for either candidate. Then it is your fault because, you could have at least voted for Hillary Clinton and you would have had more of the same, liberal bullshit that we had with Obama. But, abortion wouldn't have been overturned. There's always a level down you can go from liberalism, and I think that's a kind of a good mindset to come into these elections. Like, between election years, fight as much as possible to try to pull the Democrats away from liberalism and towards progressivism. But when when you get down to it, you gotta vote against the fascist, and liberalism is preferential to fascism.
Come out yet. She's a rich white woman. Like, Trump won't hurt her type shit. What is this? Liberals, as soon as the LGBTQ person doesn't want to vote for Kamala Harris? I don't want to vote for Kamala. Fuck you, fake lesbian.
Yeah, that is weird, that she's getting hate for being a fake lesbian.
Calling out someone for using LGBTQ aesthetics while throwing the community under the bus is based, actually. I don't get it. Like, you're a fan of mine. You have left this in your username. You got Free Palestine in your username. And you looked at this and you were like, this person is using LGBTQ aesthetics while throwing the community under the bus. I just don't get it. I saw the most brain-rotted shit about her queer baiting and somehow they made it your fault. Lamau, I hate Twitter. Wait, what? My fault? The f do I have? What kind of power do I have over Chapel Roan, bro? I don't know her. And I don't think she knows me. All right? Fuck is wrong with you people on Twitter? Goddamn. It's just there is no greater indication that someone's brain is just so permanently fried from all of the Twitch and Twitter activity that they engage in because they see because they just attribute everything to a random Twitch streamer. No, chatter, I also saw the tweet. It was something like, you normalize the be supportive, but hate on Democrats always mentality, which is just insanity. Yeah, dude, I am gonna fucking hate on the Democratic Party unless they do shit. Okay, her best friend follows you. Who is her best friend? Why do you know this? What the hell? Anyway, listen to me. Okay, listen to me, guys. Please understand something, okay? There is no reason to have a democratic process or uphold even a theory of democracy if you are not going to extract concessions from your elected representatives. Please, if you do not extract concessions from your elected representatives, then you are not doing your part in the democratic process. Democracy is not just a team sport, okay? The entire point of democracy is so that you vote for an elected representative that actually does right by you, okay? I find it very strange when people advocate for this inherently undemocratic position. This inherently...
Okay, so, criticizing Chapel Roan for not endorsing Kamala Harris isn't necessarily an advocacy for the two-party system here. Yes, you should be really attacking your Democrat Party elected representatives, making them do what you want them to do. But this is not the time to do it, and I think a lot of the criticism comes from the same place that people criticize Jill Stein for, the same place that people are just criticizing political apathy in general, where when you have a fascist versus a liberal, that's not the time to all of a sudden try to fight for leftism, and that's kind of what it seems Chapel Roan is doing. Now, of course, it seems to me, I don't know a whole lot about her, it seems to me that she is a political activist, and she has been pushing for more trans rights, more Palestinian rights as well. And a great way of getting politicians to like bend to your will is building up a voter base, getting people to, support a specific issue, try to bend you the politician to that. But you need to be able to, at least say that you're open to voting for that person. If you're just going to say, I'm not really interested in voting for Kamala, there are problems on both sides, how does that help Palestinians? You need to you need to get down in the muck, get into the politics if you're going to make a play like that. If you're going to make a third party play, that's already inherently like very dirty and political. You need to, get into that play with the mindset that I am going to be making backdoor deals. Tell Kamala, I have 100,000 people that think the way I do. Our issues are like more trans visibility and ending the war in Palestine. Come to the table with that proposal. Come on, like there's 6 weeks out on this election. If you elect Kamala with your voter block, that's a voter block that can be taken away from Kamala. If like this is what I don't get. If you're unwilling to deal with the Democrats, you're just throwing up your hands and you're being like, fuck them. They had almost a year. They didn't do anything with Palestine. I'm not going to vote for them. I'm not going to deal with them. They're dead to me. I'm voting third party or I'm not voting at all. You have 2 options. Trump wins. Horrible for Palestinians. Like, it's going to be straight up worse than what they've already been experiencing. Or option B, Kamala Harris wins, and she won without you. How does that empower you at all? What the way to empower yourself is, say you need my vote, I'm going to give you my vote, but you're going to give me something in return. That's how you get things done in politics. It's not, I'm not going to vote for you. When has the Democratic Party ever been like, we lost, we're going to move leftist? The leftists didn't vote for us. We have to earn their vote and, really cater to the left liberals or to like the left progressives of our party. That's never happened at all. The Democratic tendency is always swing more and more right. You need to make yourself an important voting bloc for the Democrats if you actually want to be able to influence their policies. If you're not a voting bloc for them, then why would they cater to your wishes? That's what I don't understand. And I feel like Hassan should understand this. He should be able to talk about this. Like, this isn't too complicated.
The undemocratic position that dictates that no, you must not ask anything of your holy overlords in the Democratic Party. They know best. If they make a decision that you don't like, they actually are probably doing it for a really sick and really cool and really smart reason. And your simple, puny peasant brain cannot comprehend the machinations of the Democratic Party. Okay? That's what it is. Please shut the fuck up and vote now. I'm sorry. That is a ridiculous way to operate. That is no way that a democracy operates. That's not what it is. What if I'm anti-democracy? Then you're anti-democracy. That's an entirely different subject. Chappell Roan is donating proceeds to Palestine and told the White House to fuck off when they try to pinkwash her. She's extremely political, and this quote is cherry-picked out of context. She's criticizing the engine of celebrity endorsement and asking us to engage directly. For every UK ticket sold, £1 goes to LGBTQ rights charity Kaleidoscope.
So let's see what like the context of Chappell Roan is.
Trust, and at the Merch Stand in Manchester, they're assigned risograph prints selling for £100 with proceeds going towards aid for Palestine wearing charity shop costumes. Fans Kenta and Freya said they admire Roan's values. She's probably the only artist that's really standing up for things that no one else wants to talk about. Of the prints, Roan says very carefully, it's just my duty to help send resources to a community that is absolutely being destroyed. And even though Kamala Harris used her deliriously goofy phenomenon in a campaign video, what we really need is a phenomenon, and seemingly copied the design of an official Roan baseball cap, Roan hasn't endorsed her yet. And in June, while dressed as Lady Liberty, Roan told the crowd at Governor's Ball Festival in New York that she had declined an invitation to perform at the White House Pride event. We want liberty, we want justice and freedom for all. When you do that, that's when I'll come. I have so many issues with our government in every way, she says. There are so many things that I would want to change, so I don't feel pressure to endorse someone. There's problems on both sides. I encourage people to use your critical thinking skills, use your vote small, vote for what's going on in your city. The change she wants to see in the U.S. this election year, she says instantly, is trans rights. They cannot have cis people making decisions for trans people, period. Yeah, she seems like she...
I mean, that's kind of stupid. That's like identity politics. It does seem like Chappell Roan's heart is in the right place, but she's just not very politically astute. Yeah, like that's a pretty stupid fucking thing to say. If your 2 goals are Palestinian genocide and, trans rights, you should definitely vote for the Democrats in this election. There's not really an argument. It's great that she's donating to Palestine. That's super cool. But again, just in terms of the actual politics of what's going to happen in this election, it doesn't seem like she's really thought this through. At least she's not advocating for third party. But I do have one more thing to say. Like, it is pretty clear that she needed to say something because a lot of people were assuming that she was going to endorse Harris anyway. What would have been perfect is if she came out and she was like, yeah, I really don't agree with the things Harris is doing. I think she needs to make a major change, but she is still better than Trump. Like, that's, I think, a big thing that people are criticizing her for. Even if she doesn't want to vote for Harris, she can say publicly, I'm not planning on voting for Harris because of these reasons. But you have to contextualize this, right? Like, every time you criticize a Democrat, that inherently makes the Republicans look more appealing. You have to contextualize it in the sense that the Republicans are always going to be worse. And she didn't do that. And so that is open for criticism. I do think that's an extremely valid reason to criticize what Chappell Roan did. Now, personally, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I'm not really criticizing Chappell Roan with this. I'm more criticizing Hassan. And he has kind of had these, like, apathetic tendencies in this election. He's made some pretty funny jokes about, like, how he's going to vote for Joe Biden. But I do think that a lot of his, like, tendencies to shit on Democrats in this election are completely valid, but he does need to contextualize it and say, like, yeah, the Republicans are going to be worse, of course. And this, I think this is a lot of projection from Hassan talking about why he's being criticized online, and he's looking at Chappell Roan getting criticized, sees himself on that. Let's take a look at what Vosh says about this.
About her, what do I know? I know she's a lesbian. I know she dresses like a drag queen sometimes. Okay, that's cool. Folks, believe it or not, it's not actually good for your mental health to consume political news nonstop 24/7.
Whatever.
Sixth. And they're doing phone banking and canvassing all over the country, okay? Or a week. Anti-electoralism, I'd say the harm is minimal despite the false equivalence. I don't want to talk about consequential harm so much because I feel like people have kind of made their decisions in a lot of cases. If you're online enough that your problem with Kamala Harris is as described here by Chappell Roan, I feel like maybe your mind's already been made up. It's not a consequential thing. It's just a really stupid analysis. It's also not an endorsement thing. I mean, you could say pretty clearly, like, one person's much better than the other, but I don't endorse. Fame is like going through puberty. Oh, it's a whole thing, is it? It's a whole thing, huh? You said yourself it was hard to go to bat for Biden when he was supporting genocide. I'm not saying anything about Chappell Roan being wrong for not going to bat for Kamala Harris. I'm just saying that she's engaging in a false equivalence. It's a pretty bad one. It's pretty, I mean, we're equivocating between a progressive liberal who is aiding and abetting a genocide to a fascist who wants to aid and abet it harder. After seeing the full quote, I think it's less bad. All right, I look forward to being assuaged. All right, I'm looking. The change she wants to see in the U.S. in this election year, she says instantly, is trans rights. Well, lady, if I got a two-party dynamic with a preferable option for you, they cannot have cis people making decisions for trans people, period. Stuff like this always, I don't know. You see it with, you see it in online discourse all the time, too, where people will be like, my number one issue, well, obviously, apart from freeing Palestine, it's protecting queer youth. And then they have no opinion on Democrats versus Republicans. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, I've seen her get a lot of criticisms for this. In fairness, kind of deserved. I mean, we really are, like, on the heel of a very important election. I think it's worse she compared the downsides of fame to domestic violence. That's fine. As somebody who's experienced a fraction of the fame that she has, I will make any hyperbolic comparison I need.
Anyway, yeah, like, I'm not really criticizing Chappell Roan. Again, I think it's just, like, ignorant political analysis. But I am going to criticize Hassan for that. There is definitely valid reasons to criticize Chappell that aren't, lived up. Oh, you need to vote for Kamala Harris no matter what. Like, no, you should... Like, a well-informed leftist should be able to criticize Chappell Roan, criticize Kamala Harris, but also make very good arguments for why you should vote for Kamala Harris. And again, like, yeah, you should vote for Kamala Harris. There's kind of no reason not to, other than, making yourself feel good. And if you're making yourself feel good at the expense of material conditions for yourself and other people, then like you're just not really being politically intelligent. Yeah. Anyway, that kind of like I did join this group called Abandoned Harris, and this group is insane. I kind of want to talk about this guy who's the founder.
To punish the president and the vice president, to send a signal to the political landscape that when you engage in genocide, you will be thoroughly punished definitively, to ensure that the despicable candidates that rule the two parties never get our vote, and ensure that they know that because of us, someone who sits atop a superpower, the pharaohs in the White House, were defeated.
Anyway, so let's just talk about that little clip right there. So what does he say? He says that, these people are evil. We're not going to vote for them. And they're going to lose the election because of us. Now, obviously, that's not true. He said that both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are, the leaders. They're going to lose the election because of us. That's not true. One of them is going to win. And that could be because of you or in spite of you. He says that we're going to punish them to show them that genocide is like an untenable position. Losing the presidency is not a punishment for someone like Kamala Harris. You actually might be able to make the case that it is a punishment for Donald Trump. He's probably going to go to prison if he loses the presidency. For Kamala Harris, she was the vice president, she was the attorney general, she was a senator. She's going to be just fine if she loses this election. It's not going to affect her at all. Governor Tim Walz is going to go back to being governor of Minnesota. And these guys might feel a little bit more empowered. Oh, look at this. We put our minds together. We were feeling frustrated because there was the genocide going on we could do nothing about. We pooled our resources. We ended up not voting. Now look at that. Donald Trump is in office. We did something. We had a difference. We feel good. We feel empowered. We feel like we matter. We're important. And we punished Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris isn't going to give a fuck. The Democratic Party isn't going to give a fuck. They're not going to look at that loss and be like, oh, wow, we really screwed up with the progressives this time. You know what? We need to offer the progressives everything they want in order to, solidify our base and start winning elections. Please, Dr. Hassan Abdel Salam, let us come to you. Let us make you the voice of our progressive party. This is all bullshit. This is a giant ego trip for this man, Hassan Abdel Salam, and honestly, everyone else involved. I've talked to these people. They are extremely uninformed in the differences between Democrats and Republicans in this race. They have just loopy ideas of what's going to happen. At least some of them are accelerationists, where they want this country to get run into the ground underneath Donald Trump so that in their minds the leftist party will rise up and regain control in 4 years. It's just an extremely unserious and self-serving, ego-enlarging group. And it's actually really making me mad about how unserious it is with how serious of a topic they're using to inflate their own egos. And if you are genuine about stopping the genocide in Palestine, that's great. I really applaud you. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to find, alternative methods, any method you can find to, enact your will on your elected representatives and try to get change done that you want to be done. So I can understand and empathize with the frustration that people like this feel, the people that joined this organization. And if you genuinely want to end genocide, which I'm sure a lot of people do, I can understand why you join this group. But you are just not thinking clearly and logically about the actual politics of what's going to happen, with this group. I said it before, but if Harris loses, the genocide is going to get worse. If Harris wins, she didn't need your vote anyway. Get a lot of people together in your group. Make deals with the Democrats. Just don't just throw up your hands in political apathy. Like, this is crazy. And the fact that this guy is talking so much about, his own power and how he's going to personally punish Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, they're going to realize that they need him, is not to psychoanalyze, but it's everything that you need to know about this group. It's a massive ego trip for him. There's no way this group helps Palestinians at all, unless he's willing to deal with Harris, where, if you ask the campaign, hey, we have all of these people, can you do something about it? Can you work with us? Or maybe we'll vote for you if when you get into office you promise to enact an arms embargo on Israel. That's not happening. They're just equivocating both sides, saying that Democrats are just as bad as Republicans. It's extremely frustrating and saddening seeing people in this group chat that I'm talking to just throwing their hands up at the political process and checking out from it, and they're so convicted in their reasons of why they've checked out from it. This one woman I'm talking to is saying that, oh well, under the Democrats things have been bad too. Then what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here? Let me just put it this way. There's a reason this motherfucker is doing Abandon Harris 24 and not Abandon Trump 24, because you never had Trump. Trump doesn't want you. Not to be blunt, but this guy's fucking brown. Trump does not want him. Trump supporters do not want him. You cannot abandon someone who doesn't have your back already. The reason he has an Abandon Harris sticker is because he has a chance to actually influence Harris's policy. He does not have a chance to influence Trump's policy. Trump does not give a fuck about Palestinians. He doesn't give a fuck about Muslim voters in America. His voting base wants to eliminate all of the fucking Palestinians from all of Palestine, all of Gaza, all of the West Bank, so that Israel can, fulfill the prophecy and bring about the end times. Go protest at a Trump rally, motherfucker. This is actually pissing me off. Let's not be childish about this. Lesser of two evil voting is a real thing, and you can't just throw your hands up and be like, let the cards fall where they may fall. It's ridiculous, man. Anyway, I think I'm done for tonight, but Jesus Christ, I just had to kind of go on a rant about this, and seeing Hassan talking about the same thing, having that same apathetic approach to this, really is mind-boggling, and it's quite saddening because, when you get down to it, it's not a complicated decision. If you don't vote for Kamala Harris, that increases the chance that Trump is going to win. It's not the same as voting for Trump, but effectively it is the same. So if you feel like Trump is going to be worse for Palestinians, which he has said that he's going to be worse for Palestinians, then, don't vote. Or vote for Harris. If you don't care, if you don't care about Palestinians, then don't vote. That's kind of where I'm going to leave it at that. See ya.